What questions have to be asked at West Ham? Arsenal's win was nothing but then sensational. These are the stories and more on J Tests, the return of the goal line. Okay, thank you for joining me for the goal line. Now, we've got quite a lot of stories that we want to discuss today. Now, if you did not see any of the games today, you need to watch Match of the Day on Catch Up and watch the one between Arsenal and Bournemouth. Within 11 seconds, Bournemouth were 1-0 up. Now, I watched final score and it came up on a video print of 1 minute, but it was actually 11 seconds into the match. Now that is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Then, if that's not bad enough, Bournemouth scored again to make it 2-0. Now, this is Arsenal, right? But Arsenal fans, don't worry, no fear, because they scored twice. Then in injury time, with the last 20 seconds remaining, Arsenal scored again to make it 3-2. My question is, should Arsenal be really leaving it that late? This is Bournemouth at the end of the day. And I'm not a Bournemouth fan. I know there's Bournemouth fans out there. However, it should just not have happened. Arsenal are a team which I think have every potential to win the Premier League, if not Man City. It's going to be the first time in a while, and although I wish it was Brentford, my team, the realisation of that is it's not going to happen. We finished 15th last season. I think we are going to finish a lot better this season, not 15th. However, it won't be winning the Premier League. I don't think Brentford will ever win the Premier League. It's just too much of a hard league. But to finish in the top 10, potentially the top 5 to get into European football would be fantastic. I'd be happy with that, and I think Thomas Frank, our manager, would be as well. But obviously there's other teams you need to consider that are just too good. Although there were some shock horrors today. If you want to know the scores today in the Premier League, Man City 2, they beat Newcastle 2-0. Arsenal beat Bournemouth 3-2. Aston Villa beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Brighton beat Chelsea beat Leeds 1-0. Wolves beat Tottenham 1-0. Southampton beat Leicester 1-0. I was going to say Brighton 4, West Ham 0. That was going to be the next story I got onto. What the hell is happening with West Ham? What the hell is David Moyes doing? I am going to say to you, listen to the commentary earlier. There was some West Ham fans leaving at 3-0. When it came 4-0, they were just going out by the crowds. A hell of a lot of them going out. When the first lot started going out, they was hurling abuse at David Moyes, the manager, saying basically, what is your problem? They left. Then when the crowds of people started going out when we went to 4-0, like, what is your problem? What the hell are you doing here? What are you doing as a manager? And that was not me. It was what the fans were hurling at David Moyes. So, now, my fiance Carol would get ASMR. Now, she's a West Ham supporter. My personal experience, or my personal opinion. I'm a Brentford fan, but I do have an opinion on every team. As hard as it may sound, if there's any West Ham fans on here, I'm sorry, I do apologise. But I do think you need a spell in the Championship. And I'm only saying that because you're struggling in the Premier League. David Moyes has brought you to great places. He's got you, really far. I remember a couple of seasons ago when it was neck and neck between Aston Villa and West Ham when Villa had just come back to the Premier League. It was so neck and neck. But West Ham survived. And I think Aston Villa survived on goal difference. I think Watford went down, if I remember correctly. It was a couple of seasons ago. But yeah, that is what I think is going to happen. I do think you need at least one season in the Championship to get your teams together, to get the right players and say, right, bang, automatic promotion back to the Premier League. And, do the right thing, get it right. But I do think you deserve a season of the Championship because you're just not getting the results done in the Premier League, unfortunately. It's going to be tough. But, like Fat Sam said, Sam Allardyce with West Brom, if you've got a plan going to get West Brom back into the Premier League, which they didn't have, I will stay on. So David Moyes should be like, yeah, okay, if we've got this plan going on, I'll stay here, I'll guide them back to the Premier League. I've got them high before, I can get them back into the Premier League, but there's got to be a plan. There wasn't a plan for Sam Allardyce and West Brom. There could be a plan for West Ham. So, unless West Ham do something critically, there's going to be a problem. So anyway, let's go through the results, which you obviously want to know. Been through it all basically. So we're going to start with the Premier League. Man City 2, Newcastle 0, Arsenal 3, Bournemouth 2, Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 0, Brighton 4, West Ham 0, Chelsea 1, Leeds 0, Wolves 1, Tottenham 0, and the late night kickoff, Southampton 1, Leicester 0. We're going to go into the Scottish Premiership. Hearts 3, St Johnstone 0, Livingston 1, Hibernian 4, Rangers 3, Kilmarnock 1, Ross County 0, Motherwell 2, and Dundee United 1, Aberdeen 3. We're going to go into the EFL Championship now. Blackburn 1, Sheffield United 0, Cardiff 2, Bristol City 0, Blackpool 0, Burnley 0, Huddersfield 0, Coventry 4, Luton 1, Swansea 0, Middlesbrough 5, Reading 0, Millwall 2, Norwich 3, Rotherham 3, QPR 1, Sunderland 1, Stoke 5, Watford 0, Preston 0, and Wigan 1, Birmingham 1. Now going to the EFL Sky Bet League 1, Morecambe 0, Bolton 0, Accrington Stanley 2, Forest Green 1, Bristol Rovers 0, Barnsley 0, Cambridge 0, Portsmouth 1, Cheltenham 1, Fleetwood 0, Derby 2, Shrewsbury 2, Ipswich 4, Burton 0, Lincoln City 1, Oxford City 0, Plymouth 2, Charlton Athletic 0, Port Vale 1, MK Dons 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Peterborough United 0, Wycombe 1, Exeter 1. Right, into EFL League 2, Wimbledon 1, Mansfield 3, Bradford 2, Colchester 0, Carlisle 2, Grimsby 0, Harrogate 0, Gillingham 0, Leyton Orient 1, Swindon 1, Northampton 1, Crawley 0, Rochdale 2, Stevenage 0, Salford 3, Newport 1, Stockport 0, Doncaster 0, Sutton United 1, Crewe Alexandra 1, Tranmere 1, Hartlepool United 1, and Walsall 0, Barrow 1. Going into the Vanarama National League, Aldershot 1, Torquay 1, Bromley 1, Notts County 1, Dagenham Redbridge 2, York 1, Dorking 0, Halifax 0, Gateshead 1, Chesterfield 2, Oldham 0, Bournemouth 2, Oldham 0, Bournemouth 2, Scunthorpe 0, Eastleigh 1, Solihull Moors 2, Maidstone United 0, Wealdstone 4, Altrincham 0, Yeovil 0, Woking 1, and the late night kickoff, Maidenhead United 2, Wrexham 2. Just because I'm in a good mood, I'm going to go through the National League North for you as well. Alfredston 2, Darlington 2, Blythe Spartans 0, Floyd 0, Brackley Town 1, Southport 0, Buxton 2, Gloucester City 1, Chester 4, Banbury United 2, Farsley Celtic 0, Telford 0, Hereford 1, Kettering Town 0, Kidderminster 0, Boston United 0, Kings Lynn 3, Scarborough 2, Leamington Spa 4, Curzon Ashton 1, Peterborough Sports 1, Bradford Park Avenue 0, and Spennymoor Town 2, Chorley 1. And finally, going to the National League South. Braintree 1, Hampton Richmond 0, Chippenham Town 2, Concord Rangers 2, Dover 0, Bar City 0, Dulwich Hamlet 1, St Albans City 0, Eastbourne 2, Chelmsford 2, Ebbsfleet 0, Hemel Hempstead 0, Haverton Waterlooville 1, Cheshunt 1, Hungerford Town 0, Welling 0, Oxford City 1, Farnborough 2, Southtown 1, Worthing 1, Tunbridge Angels 2, Taunton Town 3, and finally Weymouth 3, Dartford 1. So that is all the scores for today. When we look at the Premier League table, Arsenal are they increase their score, their points, to 63 points over Man City, who are in who have 58 points. Brentford stay in 9th. Chelsea's victory today brings them to 9 wins, 7 draws, 9 losses, but it brings them up to 10th. West Ham are now 6 wins, 5 draws, 14 losses with 23 points, but they stay above Leeds, and they stay above Everton, they stay above Southampton, and they stay above Bournemouth. So West Ham staying 16th when it comes down to the relegation zone. So now we're going to go into Championship. Burnley extend their lead earlier. Sheffield United lost their match in the early kickoff. So Burnley are now 77 points. They're 13 points above Sheffield United, at the top of the table. Norwich had a good victory over Millwall earlier, so that leaves them a point above Millwall. Watford drew earlier. QPR, that is their God knows how many matches lost. In October last year, they were top of the table. They are now 20th, and they are now in a relegation battle between Cardiff, Blackpool, Wigan and Huddersfield, which is quite shocking for QPR. They've always been quite a strong Championship side, but now they find themselves struggling. Sheffield Wednesday, another good victory. They are now top of the table, 3 points adrift from Plymouth, who had a good victory over Charlton Athletic earlier. Brings their record to 22 wins, 8 draws, only 3 losses. So Sheffield Wednesday are at the top. Lincoln City got away with a good 1-0 victory earlier. Forest Green, 5 wins, 8 draws, 22 losses, which is pretty shocking from where they were top of League 2 last season. Top of League 2, Leyton Orient, another good victory, 21 wins, 9 draws, 5 losses. They are on 72 points. Carlisle on 61. Stevenage are third, just below Northampton, Bradford, Salford and Stockport, who are making the playoffs currently. Tranmere managed to go from 15th to 12th with a draw, 13 wins, 9 draws, 13 losses. And Rochdale, even though they had a victory, still remain rooted to the bottom with 6 wins, 7 draws, 22 losses. So there's still time, but it's running out. We're going to go to the National League. Wrexham's late night draw today takes them top of the table, 26 wins, 7 draws, 2 losses. They are on 85 points. They are 1 point from second, Notts County. Bromley was winning earlier, but a late night draw brought them to just sadly a draw, which brings them 13 wins, 13 draws, 9 losses. Oldham lost again today. The teams who are in serious jeopardy is Dorking and Yeovil, and the ones that are in relegation territory are Gateshead, Torquay, Scunthorpe and Maidstone United. Maidstone United is 3 points away from Scunthorpe. In total, they are 9 points from safety. And if there's anyone that's actually interested in the National League South, I will bring that result to you when this phone starts to work. Okay, National League South, Ebbsfleet are at the top. 25 wins, 6 draws, 5 losses. Dartford, who are second. Ebbsfleet have 81 points. Dartford are in second. I only have 66 points. So the Darts really do need to do some big work. Tunbridge Angels, 16 wins, 6 draws, 14 losses. They've already picked up their game from last season. Dover, who got relegated last season from National League, 11 wins, 11 draws, 13 losses. They are 14th. They really need to pull their socks up. Dulwich Hamlet, Hampton and Richmond and Cheshunt are really struggling. And the ones in the relegation to lower leagues are Weymouth, Chippenham Town, Concord Rangers and Hungerford Town. Not looking good for them. Not looking good for them at all. I wish all these teams the best of luck. Whether it's Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, National League North, National League South, even the ones below them, I wish you the best of luck. Not really much more to discuss today, guys. If there is a subject you want to discuss, drop a comment down below in the comments, and I will make sure that next week I mention it and we can have a discussion about it. Even if I do a live, maybe we can have a live discussion about it. I think there are a few more issues that need to be discussed, but you know, it depends who wants to talk about it and who doesn't. Anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you. Do you like my new mic? I got shush. I got advice from a subscriber that said I should get a clip-on mic, and I bought one. It was only cheap off eBay, so hopefully it works. So yeah, I'd like to thank you for joining me for the return of the goal line, guys. And yeah, like I say, anything you want to discuss, put it down there. And I will see you for another edition of the goal line next week. Until then, guys, ciao for now. Thanks, guys.